Welcome to the Patterson Library Connection. In this episode of our monthly podcast, we'll share good news and library happenings, talk to fun and interesting guests, and connect with our Patterson community. I'm Lily Misenti, the PR and event coordinator here at the library. In today's episode, we have an exciting guest who has excelled in every corner of the entertainment world. She's an award-winning recording artist and a film, TV, and Broadway star. You've seen her in Tootsie, Fatal Attraction, Married to the Mob, and alongside Tom Cruise in Cocktail. She played the public defender in the popular TV sitcom Night Court, captivated audiences in the lead role of Hair, and rose to fame with her powerful vocals on one of rock's most iconic duets. Here's a hint. Stop right there. I gotta know right now. That's right, Ellen Foley, who sang that iconic line with Meatloaf on Paradise by the Dashboard Lights, is here to talk about her fascinating life, her remarkable career that has spanned decades, and the exciting new projects in her future. Thanks for joining us. Now let's get started. Hi, Adam.
Hi, Lily.
How excited are you to meet Ellen Foley?
This is going to be a very cool interview, I think. This is going to be a fun day.
I know. I have done a little bit of research and I've met her a few times now. She is such a great lady. I cannot wait for you to meet her. I think you're going to love working with her today.
I'm very interested in hearing her stories about just the music industry. That's where I come from, the music industry, but I never really got to be part of it in its heyday. And so I'm sure it sounds like she's seen it all, done it all. And so that's going to be fascinating.
It is. And she's not only a rock and roll star, she is a film star as well. She's been in so many blockbuster movies. Tootsie and Fatal Attraction, Married to the Mob. I've seen them all. She's terrific. And just getting to meet her is going to be a real thrill for me too.
I had no clue that she lived up here in this area. I mean, that's the thing about our area that's very interesting is, you never know who really is up here. And, we're close enough to New York City and other markets that a lot of, artists and, musicians and people who you would think might be down there choose to live up here.
Yeah. And it's really something that you get the best of both worlds when we're only an hour away from the city, and a lot of celebrities do live in the area, and we're fortunate to have, some interesting people to talk to. And I was thrilled when she agreed to come on to the podcast, and she's wonderful. And we'll lead into more of what we have coming up with Ellen. It's not just the podcast, and I'm really looking forward to having her on the podcast today.
Well, I can't wait. So what's next?
Now it's time for some good news. I love summertime at the library. The kids are out of school and fill the building every day with such great energy. They love all the programs, picking out books, and picnicking in the park. And it all starts on the last day of school at our summer kickoff event. This year, we had more than 350 kids and adults enjoying all kinds of activities. We had it all. A bubble bus that filled the park with more suds than you can imagine. The Basement by the Lake band made up of Carmel students. The Balloony Toonies, people who made 250 balloons into fun-shaped animals and objects, and teen leaders that did face painting. Everyone had a blast. It was such a great time. We even had the Iguana Taco food truck and Uncle Luigi's ice cream truck here. It's a fantastic annual event that kicks off our summer reading program. It's our way of encouraging kids to read over the summer. And since this year's theme is Adventure Begins at Your Library, the kids all got passports where they can track all their reading. That passport is their ticket to attend the fun and fantastic summer ice cream party in August. We're also partnering with Assemblyman Matt Slater on his summer reading challenge, where kids can earn a New York State Assembly Excellence in Reading certificate. It's a great way to make reading fun for everyone. And don't forget, the Patterson Farmers Market is on every Friday from 3 to 7 p.m. on the lawn adjacent to the library on Route 311 in Patterson. There's a lot more vendors this year, and they're offering a great variety of everything from fresh produce and baked goods to fresh fish, candles, flowers, and so much more. So don't forget to stop by. And that's our good news. Now I want to introduce our special guest, Ellen Foley. Welcome, Ellen, and thank you for being here today.
Oh, my pleasure, Lily.
You have such a fascinating story. You grew up in St. Louis, and at 21 years old, you left home and headed for New York to study acting. When did you know you wanted to become an actress?
Let me see, it was grade school, I guess. And somebody reminded me recently that to audition for the 6th grade play, I sang Goldfinger from the James Bond movie, which I don't know if anybody remembers, but it was this very loud Goldfinger, Shirley Bassey, very loud. And here's this little kid, and of course I got the part, and it sort of went from there.
So how did your parents feel about you wanting to be an actress?
Well, my mother loved it because I think growing up, she wanted to be. She always said, I could dance I do toe dancing with shout shoes on, and always quoted famous ballerinas she could have been like. And she could have, so she was, she was very supportive. I did like community kids theater in St. Louis that she took me to. And of course, as I grew up and really got into a career, she was always there. My father told me I should get a teaching degree. So there were two sides of that.
Yeah. I'm always amazed by people that have the guts to just follow their dream, and to leave St. Louis at that age and come to New York, to me, really is something. So did you know anyone in New York, or you just came by yourself?
The good thing was that I went to college in St. Louis and met a boyfriend there, and he was a New Yorker. And I moved here with him.
Oh, nice.
Moved to the city with him. So it was much different than just getting off the bus with my suitcase and saying, where am I? So, his family was here. It was a comfortable transition. And when I got to the city, I think I always felt at home. It was the 70s, which everybody says, oh, the 70s, what a scary decade. The city was horrible. I never felt that. I thought it was great. And I jumped in right away, like you said, studying, started doing classes. And he and I also had a rock band, my boyfriend, and some people that we knew from school in St. Louis. So, yeah, it was a life. It wasn't just,
New York can be so intimidating. Did you feel that at all, or did you just fit right in and find your niche?
Well, it was intimidating because there was all this, it was a business, it was professional, it was show business. So, okay, I have to study, then I have to, I did things off Broadway, and had to finally get an agent to be able to audition for any union jobs, and went from, so it was, but I think I was pretty lucky. I think my trajectory was pretty quick. I started doing things and got into a really, good place.
So what was your first acting job?
I guess I did a musical comedy review up in the Catskills.
Wow.
And it was really corny. I got to tell you, it was called Tuxedo Junction. And it was 2 guys and 2 girls. And we sang all these Broadway tunes. And that's when in the Catskills, they were sort of the hotels, Gross Singers and Browns and Kutchers and those places. So we would play places like that during the week. But on the weekends, they had the big acts. Then on the weekends, we played these things called bungalow colonies, which were these horrible little, just like it sounds, right? So I guess that was my first time I made money.
Oh, nice. Well, I know you were part of the National Lampoon show, where you met 2 men who played a major role in your career. Tell us about that.
Well, the National Lampoon show then was the first show where I got my equity card, my union card. So that would be called my first, professional gig. And you're talking about, that's where I met Meatloaf and Jim Steinman. Meatloaf being in the cast with me, and Jim Steinman being the musical director. And at the time, he was writing the music for the Bat Out of Hell album at the time that we were on the road.
So great timing for you.
Oh, my God. I mean, I like to think he chose me to sing the song and be on the record because I was brilliant. But I also happened to be there.
Well, I think considering how things turned out, I think
it was okay.
Yeah, I think you were amazing for the record. So, yeah, for sure. You have such a powerful voice, the perfect voice for that duet with Meatloaf. I was in high school when Bat Out of Hell came out. I have so many memories with that song from the parties and everything right through college.
Yeah.
But my favorite memory was we went to a fundraiser in Westchester at a Catholic church, and a young priest stood up on the table and sang every word of that song.
You're kidding.
To this day, it is still one of my favorite memories. He was amazing. He put on this whole show.
I love that.
And
he did both parts?
He sang both parts. He sang everything. He was having the time of his life, and he had the whole room singing with him. It was incredible. So
he missed his vocation.
Yes, and he was maybe 20-something years old.
That's so adorable.
It was really funny.
Yeah.
So that song really, really has some impact on a lot of people.
Oh, yeah.
Did you know you were part of something so special when you recorded that song?
I think so, definitely. Because I love being around Jim Steinman and thought he was a genius and watched the process and thought it was great. I knew it was special, but because it was so hard to get a record deal and people just thought it was just too much all the way around, from this big giant guy singing to 12-minute songs. Hard to get a record deal. And then when it ended up being a giant hit, I was surprised. I did not expect that it was going to be so commercial.
How cool to be part of something so much a part of history today. Like it's still,
definitely.
That is really
that
awesome.
It still is.
Yeah. It really is.
Pretty nice.
Mm-hmm. Well, when you left St. Louis, you left to be an actress, and you ended up being a rock and roll star, right?
Yeah, well, yeah.
So how did recording that song change the whole trajectory of your life?
It did. I got a record deal, even before the album came out, because the record company that Meatloaf was on signed me. Just because they heard the recording and what I did. So, all of a sudden, I was making my own album and, preparing for that. And it took a while. And in the meantime, I had done other theater stuff and was, had it all mixed up. But then once the album came out, I went on the road, and that was pretty much my life, doing the music stuff.
Wow. So, aside from Paradise, you're remarkably accomplished on your own. You have gold records and awards for your solo albums. They were fantastic. I listened to all of them. Your debut album was Night Out, which featured the single We Belong to the Night, that was in the top 100 on the charts in the U.S. and climbed to number 7 on the Dutch charts, which was interesting.
Yeah.
So you are quite a success story globally as well as here.
It is great. And in the last, I'd say 15 years, I've spent some time touring and doing shows in over in Europe, still have the audience there. And that's been a lot of fun.
Well, you've done it all. You not only contributed to an iconic album, but also appeared in the TV sitcom Night Court as the public defender and in several blockbuster movies, including Fatal Attraction, Tootsie, Married to the Mob, and Cocktail with Tom Cruise. Mm-hmm. What was that like?
We talked off mic earlier about Canada, and it was filmed in Canada. So I spent some time up in Toronto, a good deal of time, which was really fun. I have met a good group of people. The little scenes I had with Tom Cruise, super supportive. It was a lot of fun. And I got to play like a very saucy character with big hair. That seemed to have been my thing, because I also did Married to the Mob with very big hair. Yeah.
Michelle Pfeiffer, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's just so interesting how you go from movies to TV to Broadway and all of that. So you've done so much. What was your favorite movie to work on?
Favorite movie? I think Hair, the movie of Hair, because I sang the song Black Boys, which is so much fun, and was directed by Meatloaf Forman, who, very famous, won the Academy Award for One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. And it was choreographed by Twyla Tharp, who is like still the preeminent modern choreographer, and filmed it in Central Park. And it was, I don't know, it just kind of fed into all the stuff I was good at. And, it was one day doing this was like shot out of a cannon, sang this song, did this song in the film. And that was a blast. I loved it.
It's also fascinating to me. It's so funny when you hear all of the things that you've done. It always makes me think, like, what am I doing? What did I miss?
Are you kidding? Look what you've done here at the library. I'm so impressed.
Yeah, it's a great place to work.
Oh, it's so cool.
Well, your list of accomplishments is long. In addition to film and television, you've been on Broadway. You were Me and My Girl, and you played the witch in Stephen Sondheim's Into the Woods at the Old Globe Theater in San Diego. Some pretty great shows. That's really impressive. So what did you think about being on stage? Do you get stage fright?
I tell you, I did Into the Woods on Broadway too. I created the role, I have at the Old Globe. Then I came back later in the run. What I get is like 24 hours or 48 hours before I have to do a gig or do a show, at least a show the first time, like really depressed. I go down and, just dread. I feel a sense of dread to have to do it. But then when it's time to go on, I'm completely okay.
I guess that's when it counts.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And it's part of your the necessity of whatever your preparation is.
Sure, so that's part of your preparation for the role.
People throw up, people, and it happens for people like right before they go on the stage, which luckily I can let go of it, a bit before.
That's great because I know we had an event space in Poughkeepsie, and every time I had to get up and introduce somebody, we would take turns, me and my siblings and the other family members, and I would sometimes nail it, and I would be great, and I'd be so confident the next time, and then I would be like freezing up there and saying the same thing over and over again. So I always wondered, like, how do people do this?
Well, they say that for a lot of people, public speaking is the number one fear. And then death.
I can see it. So after doing all of this, you've done everything. What is your favorite thing to do? Is it act, sing?
I guess it's singing. I guess it's the rock and roll thing because I feel that's what I'm best at. There are a lot of people who do Broadway, and that's what they've done all their lives, so they've really perfected that, or sitcoms or whatever. But, this has been my thing, and I have a very unique voice, and so I think doing live performance, once I get on the stage, having a band is like such a pain in the neck because it's expensive, it's stressful. But once you're up there, rocking out, it's a lot of fun.
It looks like such a blast. It's like you have the greatest part of giving back to people in such a way that brings them enjoyment for years, as you can see.
Uh-huh.
And also such fulfillment for yourself and using your talents and your skills.
Yeah.
It's really gratifying on every level. So what do you feel is your greatest professional accomplishment?
I would say, number one, Paradise by the Dashboard Light. Number two, The Witch in Into the Woods. Because, man, also being there with Stephen Sondheim while he was creating it, being in that, he has said that I was his favorite witch out of all of them.
I read that. I was just going to say that.
Yeah,
that's pretty, pretty impressive.
To be in Stephen Sondheim's realm, but that he was actually aware of you and said nice things about you. But that part, it was like, when I did it on Broadway, one of the producers came up to me afterwards and he goes, "You're like a female Mick Jagger." And it's probably what I've wanted to be my entire life. That's been my goal, to be a female Mick Jagger. And somebody said that to me.
Right? Yeah. Wow.
But it was incredible. I just loved it. And I didn't get to do it long enough because I came in at the end of the run on Broadway. So, but it was a cherished time.
That's awesome. And I say, like, you, to date, that's your biggest accomplishment, because you have some really great things coming up too. You have a great project coming up. Do you want to tell us about that?
I am going to South Africa in November.
Yay.
Out of the
How
blue,
exciting.
I get a call. I didn't know anybody ever heard of me in South Africa, but it's a television show, and they're calling it Divas, and celebrating divas from the past. And it's the cast, the performers I know of are Bonnie Tyler, Brenda Carlisle, me. I think some people who are local or probably big stars over there. I do a couple of my songs. Then they're saying they want us to sing songs by people who have sort of passed in somewhat recent years, and they asked me to do "What a Feeling" by Irene Cara. I'm like, okay, yeah,
That's a great song for you.
oh my God, it's almost kind of a Steinman song,
Yeah.
So I'm very excited. That's amazing. Who thought? I'm very
I
excited.
know. And it's funny because that came up after we spoke the first time. So that wasn't even in the works when we talked a
No.
couple of months ago. So
I'd
how
say,
exciting.
maybe 4 weeks ago. And at first somebody calls you, says, "You want to go to South Africa?" I'm like, oh God, I don't know, that's going to upset my life, and who's going to feed the dogs and this. But as it turns out, my husband's going to meet me, and we're going to go to some lodge,
Oh, nice.
for 3 or 4 days where they take you out to, on a safari kind of situation. So I'm like, oh yeah, what an opportunity.
It is. That
Yeah.
sounds exciting. So nice that he can join you and do that. Mm-hmm. That's awesome. Well, you are blessed to have such a successful professional life and a wonderful personal life. And you mentioned your husband. Tell us a little bit about him and your family.
My husband, when I met him, he was doing theater. He had a show playing off Broadway that was a sort of a musical theater review. I met him when I was doing Me and My Girl. One of the girls in the show, her husband was in the show, and we met, and rather quickly, got together and got married, and since then he started doing sort of like industrial shows, things for like pharmaceutical and Pfizer and this and that, but he sort of hated it. But then he managed to get involved with Mike Bloomberg as mayor of New York, because every year mayor of New York would do a show with a Broadway cast. So the first year, Doug went in and wrote and produced and directed this show, because the mayor performs. Then he just kept getting involved, writing speeches, and then it turned out that for the 12 years of Bloomberg's mayoralty, he produced and wrote all the campaign shows, and all the projects, flew around the world. And now, since Bloomberg is out, he does a lot of work for the Bloomberg Philanthropies. So there's always projects that he does for them. But he's really a songwriter, a musician. He was a performer. He's really funny. But so he's a creative director and uses all those talents
You're a great fit.
these. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Except we never work together because it's a disaster. I don't know if you've ever tried to do anything with you've worked with your siblings, though. So,
Yeah. Yeah, and thankfully we all still talk and are all intact.
Right.
And
That's good.
Yeah, thankfully it all worked out. So, yeah, family dynamics are always interesting.
Yeah, the two of us, on that plane. And then we have two sons, one that's almost 34 and one that's 30. and they live in New York, thank God. So we see them
Awesome.
once in a while. Hello.
I know. So you mentioned in a conversation when we first met that you are a fan of libraries.
Oh,
And
yes.
I was really thrilled to hear that.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I am, but back to my husband, he's a constant user of the Pauling Library. Like today, I took back 3 books and got 2 books. He's very, he's a very serious reader, and it's just been, so much a part of our lives. I told him, even though, we live in Pauling, and I don't know if he would ever be disloyal to the Pauling Library. I said, you have to come over to the Patterson Library.
Sure.
I mean, it's so beautiful, and all the programs you have in place, it's really something. But, reading is really a big part of our lives.
Mine too, and working in a library, I have to say, we do so much that's community-based and giving back. And all the libraries here in the Mid-Hudson Library System, we share all our resources. You can get anything from any library. And I live in Pauling as well. So it's funny, I work in Patterson, but I live in Pauling. But they're all wonderful. We all really strive to make an impact in the community.
Yeah, I mean, I see what they do in Pauling, the programs too. You talk about the sharing. I mean, my husband will order a book. Sometimes it's obscure, and he'll end up getting it from, the whole network of the libraries.
Yeah, there's 66 libraries in the system, so
wow.
you've got a great pool of resources.
Totally.
What one doesn't have, someone else does. And
that's how it works for us,
Well, we have some exciting news to share. We have established a new Friends group that organizes fundraising events to help cover the costs of special events and resources that go beyond our operational budget. And this support enables us to host higher cost activities and programs like big concerts, theater performances, and other things that we couldn't otherwise afford. So, to further support our efforts and increase the awareness about the Friends Group, we're hosting a big fundraising event for the library. This event aims to raise awareness of our Friends Group, attract new members to help it grow, and raise some funds. And I am so excited and thrilled that you have generously offered to be our special guest at our fundraising event on Friday evening, November 1st at the library. It promises to be such a fantastic night. I'm so excited about it. So thank you for that. It's huge for us.
I'm excited too. I mean, you and I are still ironing out what it'll be. I know I've bounced some ideas off you that I'll probably change my mind. That it seems like too much Ellen Foley exposure. But the thing, I like this. The thing that'll be best is, I know there's going to be a wonderful cocktail hour, and there will be an auction. What are you? The silent auction?
It's going to be like a cocktail party with wine and hors d'oeuvres and some great raffle prizes and maybe a silent auction. And then we're going to break off into...
Make some money.
Yeah, and it's going to be a great meet and greet session with you where people get a chance to get to know you and ask you some questions, and it'll be very intimate. It's going to be like a cocktail party for our friends. So
I think it'll be really fun. I'm looking for, of course,
too.
48 hours before. I will get depressed and I'll freak out and I'll probably say, oh my God, I'm sick. I got to call Lily. I can't do. But I will be there.
Yeah, I know it will be great, and we're very friendly. And our patrons here and the people that I'm sure will come will make you feel right at home because it is such a great community here, and we love the opportunity to work with you and to do this for this town. I know we've said tickets will be $75 and available on our website starting September 2nd, and it's a great way to support the library, give back to the community, and get to meet somebody of your caliber. How exciting for them. When are they going to get to meet you? I mean, this is so exciting for me, even to do this with you. And you're so interesting and fascinating, friendly, and you just are so giving. So we're so grateful.
It'll be great. I did tell you when you were talking about, we're having you, I said, Lily, maybe you should lower your expectation. It's not like the Pope is showing up. I did say that.
She did say that. And I'm like, no, you're underestimating yourself.
People actually want to come. Well, that's great.
Yes. Yes, we've gotten great feedback already from people that we've mentioned it to, and they want to know when tickets are available.
When are tickets available?
September 2nd, we'll have them live on the website. People will be able to buy them directly online. So it'll make it easy for everybody to get their tickets.
Okay.
And there's
buy your
obviously
tickets, folks.
Yeah, it's a small enough library, but big enough that we can hold a number of people, but tickets will be limited. So people should really get their tickets early if they want to be able to ensure they can come. So I know it's going to be a great night. And you're a special person. And thank you so much for giving
So
back.
are you and everyone here doing all the beautiful work you do.
Well, thank you.
Very special.
So where can people learn more about you and listen to your music? I know I've done some research and have found a couple of websites, but where do you
I know
think?
there's an ellenfoley.com, but I don't think it's very active. Hey, just go on where do you find things? Go on Google, go on Spotify, go on Ellen Foley Images. There's a million pictures out there. Go on Wikipedia, although some of that is probably not true at all. Wikipedia, they just tend to make things up. But, if you look around, I'm not very, as a lot of artists, probably from my generation, we're not super tech savvy, and I have had a website, but just haven't paid any attention to it a lot. But, just go out there and you'll find me.
Yeah, I did see the ellenfoley.com website. It did have some great information.
Oh, does it?
Yeah.
Okay,
does.
go there.
It had some. So, I didn't know if it was your official website and that. So,
I guess.
Yeah.
All right.
There was a lot with Carla DeVito.
Yes. That's a cool thing. Carla DeVito, who I don't know if anybody knows, she lip synced Paradise by the Dashboard Light to my voice on the video, which for me for years was kind of like, but now we'd become really good friends. And on my last album, which is called Fighting Words, which people should check out, it was a good record, we sang a duet.
Yeah,
and it was so much fun and really good. So go listen to that.
That is on one of the websites I was on, and I did get to hear the clip.
Yes, listen to that.
Well, Ellen, we can't thank you enough for being here and for your support and for being just an amazing guest on this podcast and for what you're doing for the library with the fundraiser. So thank you.
My great pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you for tuning in to the Patterson Library Connection. If you enjoyed this episode and would like to help us grow, please share it with a friend. You can follow and subscribe to our podcast on our website, pattersonlibrary.org, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube. This podcast was recorded at the Patterson Library in Patterson, New York. Special thanks to our sound engineer, producer, and composer, Adam Bernier, our library director, Stephanie Harrison, and our board of trustees, and to you, our listeners. I'm your host, Lily Misenti. We'll see you next time on the Patterson Library Connection. Patterson Library trustees and staff do not promote nor endorse the opinions of our guests.